This is a conversation series about the people shaping the future of healthcare. These are the leaders who see opportunity where others see obstacles. Each episode highlights experts that understand the complexity of healthcare but choose to act with clarity, purpose, and optimism. We call ourselves co-conspirators because we aren't sitting around waiting for change. We are driving it. Welcome to the Co-Conspirator Track.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we have another OG co-conspirator on the track today, our very own Chris Kinard from Valeer. So Chris, welcome to the track.
Thanks so much, Caleb. Great to be a part of it.
Yeah, so as we get started today, can you share a little bit about your background in HME?
Yeah, so my background is what I like to say. I've literally grown up in and with the HME industry. I've been in this space and about this work literally my entire life. Started in HME and was introduced to HME through a community retail pharmacy and home medical equipment business in my hometown. It happens to be the oldest operating retail pharmacy in the state of South Carolina, still operating to this day. And that's really where I found my passion and my purpose in serving others, and specifically in patient care in the home setting. That was back when technology was just emerging. We were converting from paper billing, submitting on HCFA billing forms, moving to software. So it goes way back, even when I had hair on the top of my head. So from that, once I got exposed to technology, ultimately led me to QS1 Data Systems. That's where I spent 8 years as a market analyst, and I was responsible for making sure that the software was meeting the expectations of the clients. And I spent a lot of time on site with customers. After my stint at QS1, about 15 years ago, I re-entered the HME provider side with Dewey Roof, our CEO here at Valeer. And my single goal really at Life HME was the development of corporate systems focused around efficiency, accuracy, and scalability for Life HME, our HME operation. And we did this in a very unique way. We created an entity called Life H2H, or Hospital to Home. And again, it was focused on leveraging technology and automation to run a better HME business, which we ultimately automated. All of that was really the groundwork and the foundation for what is now the vision and the execution of Valeer Health.
It's cool to see our team that has the provider experience. And then as we've shifted over to Valeer, I think I'm a little biased here, but I think it makes us really aware of a lot of the problems in the industry that we personally faced. And I see that mission coming out in Valeer a lot.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And I think to that point, our team's experience, spanning almost 100 years of practical HME experience is really what is unique about our team. And we understand what the needs are, what the pain points are.
I think there is at times a lot of burnout in the industry, and, we grow weary, especially with all of the regulation, with things constantly changing in the industry. And so what keeps you passionate? What keeps you excited every day to wake up and work in the HME industry?
That's a great question. And I think most everyone that has spent a career or that has entered into this space would have a very similar answer, and that is patient care. That's what gets me up and gets me going every day, is knowing that there's opportunities to improve processes that will allow the people that are providing services for patients in the home setting to do a better job in delivering care.
So Chris, you also sit on the education advisory board for Medtrade. And 2 years ago, you led the launch of the tech stage. And I assume this has given you a lot of exposure to all the different technology in the HME industry.
The Tech Talk stage was created based on a growth trend that we identified with new and emerging technology exhibitors and vendors coming into the space. Going back, technology was all focused around the billing software platforms, or ERP systems as we call them. But really what has prompted this vision for the Tech Talk stage at Medtrade in particular are new and emerging tech trends. I believe we can use new tech like AI and machine learning to automate workflows, run a better business so that we can focus on that patient care. And then everything that we've been focused on from a Valier Health perspective is around interoperability technology, building an ecosystem where data can flow freely between these various systems. And it's starting to overlap because we understand that patients are most likely going to touch all of these service areas, be it skilled nursing, rehab services, long-term care facilities, all the way to hospice and end-of-life care.
And I'm glad you called out AI being probably the most recently one of the biggest contributors to these kind of new emerging technologies. But do you see like a macro problem emerging that, or maybe that's been there for a while, that has really caused this kind of resurgence in technology?
That's a great question. And I think it's a combination of the two. I think post-acute care, HME in particular, has always been a little bit behind the times. And when you have the acceleration of technology through tools like AI, it becomes attainable for businesses to adopt technology and actually see immediate return on an investment. I think the other part of that is a byproduct of increased regulatory pressure. We're now looking at another round of competitive bidding. That combined with just increased cost of goods, increased labor cost, all of that is causing HME providers to look at the business and look at how we can scale the business. It's putting the operations under a microscope and beginning to pick apart what will make us more successful. And that's doing more with less. That's processing more orders faster.
So when an HME provider is going, okay, I'm feeling these pressures, I'm resonating here with you, Chris. Should I outsource this? Should I look for a new technology? What should they consider when they're trying to make that choice?
So I don't think it's a one size fits all. And I don't think it has to be an either or decision. In some cases, probably in a lot of cases, HME providers are doing both. It's taking time to really dig in and evaluate where are your pain points. Do the math on ROI. What is the true labor cost, including overhead? And technology can complement those outsourced services in the automated delivery of accurate information, making sure that the details of the orders and the claims that are being entered and then handed to that outsourced billing service are accurate, that they're complete, that they're ready to be billed, and that there's no issue with compliance or missing information that would prevent that outsourced service from being successful. So I think it's both options are viable.
You have HMEs that still continue to have, internal staff, and they're kind of manually going through these faxes. They're manually, you may be using one or two pieces of software, but I think overall this problem has been created of nothing really talks to each other in this industry, right? You have to hire somebody to move the data from your new fancy software, which automated one thing. And so it kind of presents a new problem, right? With all this new technology, how do we integrate? How do we connect all of this?
Yeah, I think to your point, that's what has prevented a lot of HME providers from diving deeper into technology. It's the burden of having to evaluate, select, make sure that you've selected the right technology. It's the capital investment. And then comes all of the work associated with implementation. But most HME providers in a very lean operational world that we live in just do not have the bandwidth. So to your question, Valier has really focused on this pain point. Historically, HME providers have been constrained by their billing software vendor when it comes to implementing new technologies, new features, new functions. Sometimes that could take days, months, years to happen. And so it was restrictive when it came to being able to innovate and actually leverage new technology. From a Valier perspective, we can connect very quickly. We can ensure that data is flowing between systems. Technology can come to Valier and connect in the same way without having to be subjected to the billing vendor connection requirements or timelines. The same is true for HME providers that are out shopping and looking for new technology. It's easier and a lot of times at a much lower price point to connect to Valier than it is to go out and build a point-to-point connection or to work with your billing vendor to get that connectivity up and running.
So, part of adopting this new technology, right, or any new technology is you want to make it the process or the workflow automated. And that's also part of what we do is automating those workflows so that you don't have staff manually moving this data. What have you seen? What workflows typically deliver that highest ROI?
The easiest spot to see the greatest return, immediate return, is just the management of inbound orders and inbound medical documentation. I think right behind that is a quality assurance or claim accuracy automation.
When we start talking about automating these workflows, HME companies have real people doing these real jobs, right? What do you say to those people saying, well, you're just here to replace a job or to get me fired and for AI to take over and, kind of the dreary outlook of AI? What does that actually look like for the people that work at these HMEs that we've automated for?
Yeah, you bring up a good point. It is those subject matter experts that we leverage to train the AI so that it will follow and mimic that expertise that has taken years to develop. The other piece of that is that those individuals are spending entirely too much time, the majority of their time, managing duplicate data entry, rekeying of information that could otherwise be automated, allowing them to be focused on what's most important, focused on clean claim creation, making sure that we're actually accounting for data accuracy so that we're audit proof on the backside. And so the redeployment or realignment of those resources, allowing those individuals to be focused on the patient and not the paperwork, focused on what matters in patient care.
I love that perspective, Chris. Of course, I share it. And really, I think the devil's advocate to that is like, okay, cool. You're telling me to adopt automation is supposed to make me more efficient, but you're also telling me I don't eliminate the staff doing the work. So where is the efficiency happening? And really where we've seen it, right, at Valier has been the scalability. Now, right, there may be a little season there, a few months there where you've got, a software or an automation cost going in there. But now that automation's running and that staff member is going, oh, wow, I have all of this time now to work on more impactful work for the company. And we've seen companies very quickly rebound to this, go from the stagnation and this like struggling to keep the margin, right? To now staff is here and you take on more orders, but staff stays here. And you start to see this margin, you start to see this gap growing very quickly, in most cases. And so what advice do you have for HME providers who know they need to automate, they need to adopt AI, they need to quote unquote modernize, but they're not really sure where to start?
I think step one, and it's a very easy thing to do, is start making technology part of your business plan. I think step two is investigate where you're spending your time and your labor. Where are your current dollars from an operational standpoint being spent? And of those dollars, what processes, what workflows, what tasks could be automated or replaced by technology so that you can free up those dollars to invest in technology? Leveraging technology and having this technology-centric perspective will ensure that we're maximizing every opportunity that we have to do more with less.